This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, college football fans, and welcome to the Primetime Podcast. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And for the first time, well, the second time on this podcast, you guys can now see us on YouTube. I got to say that again. And before we get into the podcast, I feel like I have to say this every video podcast. And we had another comment saying, oh, why aren't all your podcasts video podcasts? Well, time. We just don't have the time and the resources right now. If you want to help us get those time and resources to help make all of our podcasts, because that is the main goal in video format, check out patreon.com/most valuable podcast. But we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We are done with the Pac-12, Brandon. We are done with the Big 12. Now it's moving on. We got 3 conferences left. This is now the second team that lost in the semifinals. Well, the second conference, I should say, the Big 10. That's who we're going to look at. That we've got the ACC and the SEC as our last two. But how we're going to do it, if you're new to the format of this podcast, the first half of it, we're going to look at one division because we're back to divisions now all the way through. We're going to look at the first division. We'll look at the second division. Then we will give our predictions at the end of the podcast. And we're going to look at the West first. That'd be fair, right? Because we want to leave you guys for the better conference
best
at
for
the
last,
end, right?
Of course.
Or as I like to call them, the Big Ten Beast instead of East. But we have a West Conference, and this is an interesting one to me because Iowa was undefeated last year. Many have said, oh, well, they used a fake ID to get all the way to the Big 12 title game. We had Northwestern and Wisconsin didn't have too bad of seasons at 6-2 and both 10-3 overall. But to me, the team I want to start with, no, it's not the Fighting Illini, even though I will mention them briefly in this podcast. I want to start with Nebraska. Reason being, when we had our hot seat conversation, Brandon, I said that Mike Riley, he could be on the hot seat this season because Nebraska was always that team that was chomping at the bit in the Big Ten West, where it was they were never going to the title game, but you were always throwing them in there as, oh, they could be a dark horse. They could be a wild card. Well, now at 3-5, they weren't even in the conversation last year to win the Big Ten West. That's got to change with Mike Riley, and I want to say this is year 2 or year 3 under his regime.
Well, they went 6-7 last season, and you know I think that people probably look at them as another possible dark horse again this year. But if that's going to happen, they need to better take care of the football. They were minus 12 in the turnover margin. Mm-hmm. That's not good. You know, that's not good. And I think Tommy Armstrong, the quarterback, he has to do a better job of leading this team. And, you know, he gets in now a full off season with their offensive coordinator. I think that's going to be good for him. But I think that this Nebraska team ultimately is they need to be more consistent. They just need to be better. You know, that's a kind of a that's kind of a cop-out way of saying it. Yeah, they just need to be better. Of course they need to be better. But what do they get better at? Well, one of the things I did say, that is taking care of the football. If you are winning the turnover margin each game or almost every game, most likely you're going to be pretty good. You're going to win that game. Mm-hmm. And more of those, more wins, more recognition, that's just overall better.
No, to me, the main key to this team, especially offensively, is Tommy Armstrong Jr. because this is a guy where for the past, I want to say 3 seasons, since he was a freshman, all I've heard is how special this kid could be. Because I'll take you guys into the Wayback Machine. Before we had Most Valuable Podcast, when it was originally just the onside kick and we had just an onside kick channel, I was also writing for an Illini website / blog, and one of the guys that I was friends with at the time, he was a Nebraska guy, lived in Nebraska, went to all their games. He was just a black shirt in every sense of the word. And ever since 2013, he's been talking about this Tommy Armstrong kid. Oh, be on the lookout for Tommy Armstrong Jr. He's going to be something special. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, as a sophomore, you did throw for 2,695 yards. Last season, you eclipsed the 3,000-yard mark in a season. 22 touchdowns, 16 INTs. That's something that you just mentioned, the turnover margin. But I think it starts with Armstrong. This team is going to go offensively as far as the quarterback is going to take them. And this is a division that, I mean, we're talking about quarterbacks all the time. Last year, we were talking about Connor Cook. We were talking about Cardell Jones. We were talking about Broxton Miller. We were talking about Jake Rudock, who was with Michigan. We're talking about Joel Stavi, who was with the
Christian
Wisconsin
Hackenberg,
who was with Penn
all
State.
of them.
In order to have success in this conference, you have to be to quote the great Dickie V, you got to be a PTP, baby, a prime-time player in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you do, but you can't do it all yourself, and that's why you for Nebraska, they're going to have to look for more out of the ground game as well. That's when Divine Ozigbo comes into the equation as well. You know, he rushed for 87 yards against UCLA last season in the Foster Farms Bowl, but here's the thing is that I think that you want to have more consistency. You want to have more consistency throughout your offense and throughout your scheme. I think that, again, you don't want to have it all on one guy. However, the quarterback, you go out there, I say it all the time, that's the leader. You know, no matter if there's a player out there on the offense that's better, you know, there's some teams where the running back's just better. They're the stud. You want it in their hands. But the quarterback is still, even if they are a game manager, you know, even if they're only out there to be a game manager, they better be a leader as a game manager. So I think that that's going to be really important, but defense for this team as well. They're losing two of their starting tackles, and that's Malik Collins and Vincent Valentine. They lose them to the NFL. This defense, more so than anything, is going to be the question mark coming into this season, I think, for Riley's team. However, people are still looking at them as being a possible threat here in the West, but, you know, 6 and 7 is, to me, it's not a threat.
No.
6 and 7 is weak. So they really are going to have to put up some good numbers against the teams that they're playing, and they're going to have to impress. I mean, this Nebraska team is going to have to come out of the starting gate. They're going to have to be good, but they're also going to have to catch the eye of some people, because if they're not doing that, they're certainly not going to get any looks. However, you know, you have what you have, and, you know, that's what you got to work with. And Nebraska can be good. They definitely can be good. Is this the year they do it?
I'll throw this out there. This is the last thing I'll talk about Nebraska, and then we'll either move on to Northwestern or Wisconsin. I want to throw this out there. Yes, they had 7 losses, but 4 of those losses were 3 points or fewer, where you had the BYU game. I believe that was the Hail Mary that they lost to by BYU 33-28. Then a 3-point loss against Miami on the road in overtime. A 1-point loss to Illinois, and that was a 14-13 game. And then a 2-point loss, 23-21 to Wisconsin. Those are 3 games easily where you could look at it. And also Northwestern, 30-28. So there's your 4, actually I think that's 5 losses that are 3 or less. Those are 5 games where you could look at it and say, well, you know what? Those are so close. Coin flip it. They go the other way. We're talking about Nebraska in a much different sense. However, you talk about the tackles they lost. Maybe those games this year fall to the other side, where maybe they're a touchdown, 10-point games instead of just 2 or 3 points.
Again, you talk about those, you know, couple of points here, couple of points there. Turnover margin. You know, if you make that a little bit better, if you kind of close the gap on that and you go into the plus, you know, plus 10, plus 12, you're looking a lot better. You're positioning yourself in a better spot to win the game. So I think that's those 3 points could be you win by 4, you know, you win by 5, something like that. I think that it's there for Nebraska. But 6-7 last year, obviously each year is a new year. 6-7, that certainly doesn't wow me. And we're gonna have to see. Riley's gonna have his guys ready for this season.
And I did look it up. It is this will be his second year with the Cornhuskers. Last year was his first, but it's one of those things where you want a quicker turnaround if you're a Cornhusker fan. I'll let you decide though, Brandon. Where do you want to go to next? Do you want to go to Evanston, Illinois, or do you want to go to Madison, Wisconsin? Who do you want to talk about
Let's
next?
go to Evanston, Illinois.
Okay. With Northwestern, this is an interesting team to me because they were 10-3 last year, 6-2, and I say an interesting team because last year was a little bit of a shocker to me because, if you're new to the show, I can't stand Northwestern. It's because I bleed orange and blue. Can't stand Chicago's Big 12 or Big 10 team. Get out of here. Illinois Fighting Illini. But this was a team 2 years ago that was 5-7. It was like, whoa, what's going on? Do we need to start thinking about putting Pat Fitzgerald on the hot seat? What's going on? Boom, they come out last year and they 10-win season, 6 wins in the Big 10. It looks like Northwestern to me this year. Can they get over the hurdle of Iowa? But is Iowa going to be the same team? And could we look at a team like Northwestern, who to me is going to lean a lot on the running back in Justin Jackson to bring them some success in the Big Ten?
Well, they should lean a lot on him. He's probably, if not definitely one of the best in the Big Ten. But I think that's why, going back really quickly to Nebraska, Northwestern just 2 years ago was 5-7. Last year they're 10-3. Nebraska now last year 6-7. Could they? It's as simple as one off season where you finally get things figured out. You have the right pieces. Guys have another year under their belt. It sometimes is that quick of a turnaround for Northwestern. For them, I don't necessarily envision 10-3 again this year. You have to kind of look and see what they lose. So they lose Dean Lowry, Deontay Gibson, Nick Van Hoos, Trevion Henry. They lose all those guys because, well, their eligibility is out. They're out of eligibility.
And we got to throw out there that you personally know Dean. You and Dean went to high school together, right?
Well, Dean Lowry, he was a grade below me, so I was a year older than him. Dean had him in a couple of classes. Nice guy. Went to Boylan Catholic High School in Rockford, Illinois. Yeah, got to see him play high school football. Yeah, so a lot of fun. Dean's a nice guy. I'm really happy for him. He's gonna be a Packer. His family they're big Bear fans. So they went out. They got the Packer stuff though. I saw it on Facebook. So
I don't know how you'd feel. I don't think me even as a Viking fan, if I had a son drafted by the Packers, it's great you got drafted by the Packers. Just don't expect me to wear a Packer hoodie. Just don't expect it because I'm going to be wearing my purple and gold.
Yeah, so big shout out to Dean Lowry. Really, really excited for him. That's absolutely awesome. Drafted in the 4th round, going to the Green Bay Cheeseheads. But I think that really for Northwestern, a team that I think will still be good, but you have to look. A lot of times you have to look and see what you lose, and then you have to see how you replace that. I think defense right now, you're always going to have to replace people. Guys can't stay forever. But I think that the biggest thing is how do you counter that then? Are you going to be a little bit better on offense? Are you going to put up a little bit more points? They only had 136.1 passing yards per game last year. That's not going to cut it. That's low. That's really bad, in my opinion. But then you have to look and you have to say, Justin Jackson, do you need to put up that many passing yards if Jackson's running the football as much as he's going to run it and as many yards he's going to rack up? But I think that they just need to get a little bit more consistency from Thorson at quarterback. I think he needs to do a little bit better job of I think being more of a PTP. I think that's what I think. But for Northwestern, I don't envision 10-3. I could see 9-4. I could see 9-4. I just don't know if they go into the double-digit win category.
And the thing I love about this Northwestern team, and it's hard for me to love anything about them because, like I said, orange and blue pumping through my veins each and every day. But as I was looking through just now the preview on athlonsports.com, they've got a quote here from defensive coordinator Mike Hankwitz. And it says, it's simple. Our DBs can run. We can match up with people and play more man, period. I look at that and go, like, that is going to be a defense that, you know what, we're just going to play man-to-man and fucking hit you in the mouth. We're going to have our corners and our DBs hit you in the mouth. Be a little physical on the line. Mess up the wide receivers. Have them, because that's the big thing with wide receivers. Nowadays, with how quick receivers are, especially when you get to the NFL, if you give them a little bit of a cushion, think about Odell Beckham. I know he's good and he can probably do it with contact too, but you give him a little bit of a cushion, boom, he's right past you. You give these wide receivers a little bit of contact at the line of scrimmage, something that they're not used to. They have to get through that. Hopefully that can help you. I read that quote and I love it. I love it. Kind of to me shows a little bit of a physicality that this defense may have this season with going with saying, hey, we can run with them and we can play more man.
Do you remember the first game that Northwestern played last season? It was against Stanford. Stanford played a horrible game. But why did they play a horrible game? That Northwestern defense was all over them. That's the type of defense, that's the type of style and game that Northwestern plays.
And who did Stanford have and still has? Christian McCaffrey. A guy who can get some speed on you if you let him.
Northwestern did not let him, though. I think this Northwestern defense, yes, they lose all those guys that I said. However, Anthony Walker's coming back. He should push for All-American honors. He is going to be good. He's going to lead that linebacking core. But I think that Northwestern still will be good. Like I said, I don't know if they go with double-digit wins, but I think they're still good this season. I think that they'll definitely compete again in the West. You know, is Iowa going to be as good as they were? We'll talk about them, I know. But the thing is that you look at last season, and you always said the thing, okay, you know, some of these teams, they kind of come out of nowhere. Northwestern, a team that comes out of nowhere, and they go 10-3. Iowa comes out of nowhere. They go 12-0. What happens this next year? A lot of people think that Iowa was one of those teams where, you know, they had a fluky season where they went 12-0. Other people would say absolutely not a fluky season. They were very good last year. They didn't make it as far as they would have liked to, but they're very good. They'll come back and they will repeat, not go 12-0, but they will still be very good and they'll repeat as West champs. But who knows? But I think that Northwestern will be good, and they'll be up there in the top 5.
Here's my one criticism with Northwestern this year. You look at their schedule, take a look at their non-conference games. Western Michigan, Illinois State, which, why are we playing FCS teams anymore? Duke, and McMurray. Guess what? I don't even know who the fuck McMurray is. I apologize if you're listening or watching and go to McMurray. I don't know who that is. I look at that non-conference schedule and
McMurray, that's your uncle, right? Uncle Mac.
I look at it and I go, that don't impress me much. Little Shania Twain for you. That's a non-conference schedule that preaches to me, you know what, we're just going to worry about the Big Ten. We're just going to worry about the Big Ten Conference, and we're just going to get through it. And I'll tell you this, what could happen and could be a storyline if Northwestern's good this season and is Big Ten title worthy, it could come down to with them, oh, yeah, you won the Big Ten title, but who'd you play in your non-conference? Because I look at those 4 games, I'm not impressed at all with any of those teams. Especially, why are you playing McMurray College? Why? You're Northwestern. Could we get somebody that's even on the same level as Duke? When Duke's your hardest opponent, and you're playing an FCS school, and then a school that the hardcore fan like me goes, who? That's not good. Or am I just looking at it too analytically and they'll be fine?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I even get upset when Alabama schedules games against, you know, a cupcake team. It's like, come on, you guys are better than that. you should be playing at least a team that is going to give you somewhat of a challenge, at least for the first half. But I think that's the thing that always has frustrated me. You know, you're going to schedule non-conference games. I can understand maybe one that's not going to be, very difficult, but, 3? I don't think so. That doesn't make sense to me. It never has. Why don't you want to challenge yourself a little bit? I don't know. I can see both sides of it, but my whole thing is I'd rather see you playing good competition and then win than, I don't know. I don't want to see a blowout, but I do want to see you continue to play good competition. And so what? Maybe you lose by a little bit. At least you went out there, you scheduled a tough game, you played a hard game, and hopefully you learn from it, and now we can go and we can play all these other teams, and we are, we're feeling good. We know how to play you now. I don't know. It's kind of on both sides.
And I'm looking at the McMurray Athletics website really quick, just at their football team, to see like what conference they're in. I don't even think they're in the NAIA. All I have right here is their conference is the UMAC. And they're from Jacksonville, Illinois. Just to throw out some of the guys on their schedule, you may know this one because you're from that area. You want to know who their first opponent is of the season? Rockford College. That's their first opponent. And I look at that and go, who? I don't even know of Rockford College. That's right by where you came from. So you probably know Rockford College very well.
I do know of Rockford College, yes.
But, I mean, that's a team.
Rockford University, right?
It says Rockford College. That's my biggest grief with the Wildcats. Let's move on to the Badgers, though. I was almost going to jump right into the Hawkeyes, but we'll leave them for last because they were the West champions. The Badgers, I mean, what's your thought on Wisconsin coming into this season?
My thought on Wisconsin is their front seven is going to be solid defensively. And that's what I'm excited about. So what I remember last season from Wisconsin was they start off against Alabama and they get destroyed. Mm-hmm. And then I was done watching Wisconsin for the rest of the season. But they put together a nice year, 10-3. But I think that they lose Stave at quarterback, and what are you gonna do now? I mean, some people would say Stave wasn't that great, but I think that
he didn't have to be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Exactly. So I think that Wisconsin will be good. I don't know if they're good enough to win it in the West or win it all, really, when it comes to the Big Ten.
To me, the big thing for Wisconsin is, yes, finding a replacement for Stave is nice, but to me, there's even a bigger need for this Wisconsin Badger team. And you mentioned how, Stave didn't need to be spectacular. He didn't need to be great. He just needed to be okay, was because of the run game that he's always had when at Wisconsin. And I mean, Russell, the quarterback that Stave took over for, right before Stave's first season, we'll start there. A little quarterback by the name of Russell Wilson. Don't know if you guys heard of him. He only threw for over 3,000 yards and 33 touchdowns in his last season at Wisconsin. His running back, a near 2,000 rusher by the name of Monty Ball. Pretty big shot. Might not have been in the NFL, but he was a big shot with the Badgers. Stave's first season, he comes in, only throws 1,000 yards. Who was his running back, though? An 1,800-yard season? Monty Ball. Pretty good run game. Then in 2013, he's got 2 running backs over 1,000 yards. The second one was almost over 1,500. The first one was over 1,500. Melvin Gordon and James Wright. Stave, he improved. 2,400 yards that season. But he still had a great running attack behind him. And then Melvin Gordon's senior year, we don't need to say anything about that, but I will say 2,587 yards. that helps out a quarterback. And Stave only threw 1,350 yards that season. So to me, the Badgers got to get back to that. They got to get that run game back to where it needs to be, because last season, their best runner had 819 yards. That is the first time, and I could probably go way back, but from the years I just told you, every single running back since Stave took over had over 1,000 yards in their season.
Well, Corey Clement last year, he'll return this year. Missed most of last year with an injury, but I think that you obviously you want consistency coming from that running game. There's not really any quarterbacks that I remember, at least in the last couple of years, and basically you just spoke to that of what I just said. There's not many quarterbacks I remember from Wisconsin within the last couple of years. That's not their thing that they're known for. They're known for
Russell Wilson, because he played there a year.
But that's what I'm saying. You don't. I mean, outside of him, you're not really thinking of anybody. No one's really big coming to mind, but you mentioned the ground game, and all of a sudden, everything in Wisconsin lights up,
And I'll throw this out there. Their last running back that had under 1,000 yards, John Clay, in 2008, that season, he had 840 yards, but guess how many yards he had the next season? 1,517. So, boom, he got up to that over 1,000-yard mark, and maybe that's it for the Badgers. Maybe they just need somebody that was on the team last year to take up that mantle. But to me, that's the identity of this team. And if Paul Christ wants to succeed with the Badgers as head coach, he needs to get back to that. He needs to get back to that identity that Wisconsin's been at before he came in last season from Pitt.
So one thing to look at for Wisconsin is definitely going to be their schedule. So it doesn't look too nice for Wisconsin this year. So they have a neutral site game in Green Bay. They play LSU
against another SEC
and again,
opponent.
I don't know why they keep doing this to themselves.
Hey, I'd rather have them do that than play Mac Murray.
I thought I was going to say Monte Cristo. I completely forgot who they were already.
Monte Cristo.
Yeah, same thing. Then
great sandwich.
Yeah,
great sandwich.
Hell of a sandwich. The Badgers then play Michigan State. Michigan, Iowa, Northwestern on the road.
You just skip Akron and Georgia State. Who the fuck cares about them, right?
No one. And then they play at home Ohio State October 15th. So, there's that.
It's a big 3-game stretch because you're on the road in East Lansing. You're on the road in Ann Arbor. Then you get to come home. But, you got an ABC game against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Not too good. Oh yeah, then you're going on the road yet again to play the Hawkeyes. So I mean, your biggest opponents this year: Michigan State, Michigan, Iowa, Northwestern, all road games. Your biggest game at home is Ohio State. So the way I look at their schedule, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can handle the 5 home games that are not Ohio State, I'm not counting that LSU as a home game, even though it's technically they're the home team of the neutral site. If you can win your 5 home games, not Ohio State, and just beat Purdue, you'll make a bowl game. I mean, that could be positive for the Badgers.
And if you don't beat Purdue, you should be banned from all bowl games.
That should be a Big Ten rule. If you lose to Purdue, you're just not in the Big Ten anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just the kiss of death. Like they're just horrible. Illinois lost to Purdue once, guys. That's why I'm so angry.
And Illinois is Illinois is the other team that if you lose to. Right? No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? Before we get into Iowa, I want to throw that out there.
I will sit back and I will let you rant.
I don't want you to sit
I will
back.
let you rant about Illinois.
The only thing that I want to mention about Illinois, and I feel like I actually have like some ground to stand on. I think this is going to be a good year for the Fighting Illini. Not good as like competing, but I just think that Lovie Smith is going to bring in a new life to this team, and Lovie
Smith and bring in life are not words that are used in the same sentence.
The biggest thing I want to see from this team is I want to see them bring life back to the fan base. That's what I want to see. Like, I looked at his time in Chicago, and did he get to a Super Bowl? Yes. Did he get to an NFC championship game? Yes. If he could just, at this point, do I want to win everything? Yeah, but I'm not going to be greedy. If he could just get us to the Big Ten title game, I think I'd be happy.
If he could win 7 games, you should be happy.
I'd be happier than a pig in slop. I would be happy with 6 wins. I would kiss a pig if we got 6 wins. Probably wouldn't.
You heard it here. You heard it here.
That.
And he better not cut this out. He better not cut this out of the video.
That's too much work.
Because you heard it. We will have Ricky kiss a pig in this room.
How are we going to get a pig in this room?
Doesn't need to be alive.
No,
it doesn't need to be alive.
Probably won't happen. But it's this team. I'm just excited for Lovie Smith. I'm excited to have a coach that I feel like I wanted to use the word competent, but I feel like I want to use that word because I'm comparing him to Tim Beckman, which anybody's competent over him. Anybody. I mean, who's the worst coach you could think of, Brandon? The worst coach you can think of.
Oh, hold on a second. Hitting me with the worst. Oh, gosh.
Worst, any sport. Any sport.
I know. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
I'd rather have Jeff Van Gundy. And some people are going to be like, whoa, Jeff Van's a good coach. I'd rather have him than Tim Beckman. I'd rather have a guy off the street than Tim Beckman.
A hobo.
That's how much
A hobo.
I was not a fan of Tim Beckman as his career went on.
I've got one for you.
Give
How
me
about
it.
Mark Trestman?
Dude, I would totally take.
He's
the
horrible.
Stank. I would take the stank of Mark Trestman over Tim Beckman.
I knew I was trying to think of a really
You're
bad
sitting
one.
there and you're going, I can't. I would take Mike Martz. I would take Rob. Well, Rob Marinelli's not that bad. I would take. Let's leave Mark Trestman. I would take Mark Trestman over Tim Beckman. That's the thing with this Illini team. I just want to see what Lovie can do his first year. Do I think he's going to take us to a championship? No. Do I think he's going to win the Big Ten? No. I just want him to bring life
Ricky's
to this
gonna be
team.
happy, folks. Ricky is going to be happy.
To this fan base. I just want something to root for.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Boom. Rant over. Let's move on to the last team in the West to wrap this up.
Finally.
The Iowa Hawkeyes. Brandon, what are you thinking about the team? Did they finally get their real ID or they still got the fake ID?
No, I think that they finally made it to 21.
Okay,
and
cool.
they finally got their new driver's license. But I think that Iowa, no one's going to be surprised with them this year. They're going to surprise anybody. They're not going to, come sneak up on anybody this year. They return C.J. Beathard, and he threw for just under 3,000 yards, 17 scores. But then you have to look at Jordan Canzeri. He was their number one running back. He's gone, but they're going to, I think, have a dual threat at running back. They're going to have LaShawn Daniels and Akram Wadley. So I think that Iowa's going to be just fine. You look at the offensive line, Austin Blythe, Jordan Walsh, 2 guys that departed. So they're going to have to fill those voids. But I don't think those losses are enough to spiral Iowa, into the middle. I don't think so. They're still a top 5 team and probably a top 3 team in the West Division in the Big Ten. However, they're not going to be a 12-0 team this year. There's nothing about a fake ID or a real ID when it comes down to that point. There will be no 12-0. They are a good team, but not a 12-0 good team. I think that last year may have been a bit of a surprise. 10-3 would be more likely, I think, of something that'll happen this year for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Personally, but I could be completely wrong. People may tell me to go screw myself if they don't agree. But I think 10-3 is a realistic thing for Iowa this year. I think that with the losses that they had, with the guys that return, I think 10-3 is very reasonable.
Well, and I look at this team, and for the first time, I'm not going to mention offense first. To me, the biggest returning piece to this team, well, actually, I lied. Kanziri will be a big hole there. I mentioned my offense first. But to me, the big returner is you got Drew Ott coming back and the defensive side coming back for that 5th season. And to me, that's going to be the key is this defense is how are they going to hold against, I mean, they don't have the hardest schedule in the world yet again. I mean, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Penn State, those are your hard games. Maybe not even Penn State. But Michigan's your hardest game. Like, you avoid the Michigan State. You avoid the Ohio State. You just got to play, like, your teams from the Big Ten Beast are Penn State and Michigan. And Rutgers. Wow, Rutgers. Woo, shocker. They're really hard. No, they're a cakewalk for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yeah, Michigan's their toughest opponent. So that is one thing that's also helping them is their schedule.
We're looking at probably what will be one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, and that's Iowa's. Mm-hmm. But one game that I go back to is that game against Stanford. That was not good. The Rose Bowl. That was bad. That was not good. Yeah, I mean, they got blown up, and that's that. Hold on. You get real excited.
Well, I'm going to make a point.
When you look at other teams outside of, the Big Ten, when, other teams are scoring a lot of points, how is your defense going to hold up against them? That's my whole point, is because if you want to be good enough to get to the college football playoff, you've got to be able to hold some of these teams down because these teams can score points. That's what I'm saying is your defense, it's one game. It's a small sample size of one game. I get that. But you don't want that be a sign of things to come. Now, I'm not saying that it will, but I'm just saying that was a complete blowout on one side.
Yeah, but to me, I'm going to play devil's advocate to that because this was a team that, in the end, if they would have won the Rose Bowl, would it have mattered? On top of just besides, put aside the fact your pride and how you want to win every game. If they would have won the Rose Bowl, would it have mattered?
For the fans, yes.
Put that aside too. Would it have mattered if they won the Rose Bowl?
No.
Is it the same thing as like winning the championship? No.
No, it certainly doesn't matter. But what I'm saying too is that it's not that they didn't lose the Rose Bowl 24-17.
Yeah, and
they got murdered.
What I'm saying is this is a team that pretty much we were looking at as favorites in the Big Ten title game. They go ahead and lose, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying you shouldn't go out there and try to win every game, but I feel like that loss to Michigan State in the Big Ten title game kind of just put a hole in the ship. And like the Titanic, that whole season just went down. It didn't matter what game they were going to play next. They were not going to win that game because not morally, but like just their confidence was shot after losing that Big Ten title game because their whole goal, everyone's goal, is to get to the college football playoff, and they had it right there. They didn't play well against Michigan State, and they knew it. And that's why I feel like they came out and just laid an egg in the Rose Bowl because their confidence was just absolutely shot from losing to Michigan State. Now, would they have beaten, would they have still played Alabama if they would have won, or would they have played Clemson first? I think they might have played Clemson first.
I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure.
Let's just say for the sake of argument, they play Alabama like Michigan State did. There's no way they're going to beat there's no way they're going to beat Alabama. But because they lost because they lost in that Big Ten title game, it shot their confidence. Just totally shot their confidence. And that's why I look at that Rose Bowl game, and I don't really hold it against Iowa. Because I look at it and go, you know what? Your confidence was shot. Because to you, all that mattered was the college football playoff and making it, and your dream was crushed. Now, do they come out with a chip on their shoulder this year? Maybe, maybe not. We're going to have to wait and see.